Hello, welcome to my devlog for GuitarSesh as of June 21st, 2026. Version 2.9F alpha. Now bear with me. In this video, I just wanted to make an impromptu video, a loose script of just chicken scratch notes. My last video here was about 2 weeks ago on the 7th, whatever 2 weeks ago of the 21st is. Point is, I'm going to run out of breath in this video. I don't have a script per se. I just want to share everything I've been doing on this project. All of my free time has been going to it. After work, on the weekends, on holidays, on vacation. Almost 5 years now on this project. And let's just follow my little script that I did try to write, like just a brief portion of it, then we're gonna go wherever that leads. I know I said no script, but then I said scripts, but I tried to prepare the whole 10 minutes I had before I said, let's make a video until now. So let's just dive in. So the program has a database, a .db file, SQL. Whoever's familiar with that, great. If you're not, that's no problem. But just know that in the directory that this program is installed in, it's exe file, right? So it's package file, package project, and along with the exe, it has 3 additional files to rely on. One of them is the database file, and GuitarSesh.db, and there's 2 JSON files, user_settings.json and user settings JSON backup. So these are configurable settings that the settings screens relies on to load the user variables. Goes along with your user profiles. So when you boot the software up, it checks those 3 files. And so in this case, I booted the software, I booted GuitarSesh up, and it detected those files, so launched me straight to the start menu, which I am at now. But I want to go through a flow here where I'm going to delete those 3 files and say that I'm a new user to an extent. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm not going to edit this video in post. You're just going to have to deal with the unscripted, unedited nature of this video. So what I'm doing is I'm going to delete those files. First, stop the program. And then gonna have to have another window here. So I'm deleting the GuitarSesh.db file, the user_ settings.json file, and the backup of that. And I'm going to restart the program. So it's going to say new user, no database, no user settings file. So it starts with the default settings, the splash, which I don't think I've shown before, or maybe I have. And so that's the first thing you see, that splash screen. So this is the flow of a new user. There's different flows for new users, existing users. So in this flow, this is the second screen after the splash screen. You get to choose your language. Are you sure? Yes, because you don't want to get trapped in a language. I added this recently. And this is something recent. I wanted to smooth out the checklist that the boot goes through. So like starting the program up. So when you start the program up, that's just one of the checks. If it says, oh, you have a database file. Oh, you have a JSON file. There's more. So such as like this photosensitivity warning. In the current version, there's counter 5. So this is the first time out of 5. Every time you counter it, I understand it'll increment counter. It'll stop showing after 5 times. but I didn't have that in the user settings JSON. So it just started from the default setting. You're new, you haven't seen this before. First time you see it, okay. So you got the checklist of everything. So in the old builds, I didn't have this organized flow, right? It'd just be, you get this pop-up, okay. You get this pop-up, okay. It's like, okay, why am I getting pop-ups some of the time, not all the time? There's different scenarios for different things that the boot does. So this photosensitivity is one of them. Early access disclaimer, just saying, hey, I've been, working on this a long time. I'm the only person that's played it, and just a disclaimer. I understand. Now, I tried to improve the profile selection. So this is like one of the things. So you just create a new profile. And then there's a streamer mode that it's work in progress to just say yes. And here's another thing. So this entire system check used to be individual pop-up. It used to be this one be one pop-up, this one be one pop-up, this one be one pop-up, this one, this one, this one. They're each individual ones. And and you wouldn't always get all of them. You would get one at a time, or you would get step 2. Sometimes you'll skip step 1. That's because these are prerequisites like, oh, do you meet this condition? Yes. Do you meet this condition? Yes. Do you meet this condition? No. Show this. So this is like, okay, the display resolution is currently stuck at 1900 by 900. So that means you need a certain minimum resolution. The refresh rate is stuck at 60 frames per second. And if it detects your monitor, the monitor that the software is currently on is not 60 frames per second. It's going to say, if you don't play in a 60 frames per second, you may experience hiccups, and it's not on the developer. It's on the user's hardware. Frame timing, that's just something that goes on in the background. There's a number of frame timing configurations that I could get into later. Recording software. So I want to give a little disclaimer about that. So I want to refer to my chicken scratch notes here. So these are pre-logical requirements, whatever that means. It says these were excuses I thought were cause of 60 frames per second smooth performance drops, which turned out to be untrue. So basically through the development cycle, 4.5 years or so, I would encounter stuttering where the note movement is not smooth, and it would be unplayable. That's one of my requirements. It has to be smooth, 60 frames per second, no questions. And the way I had my, I'm trying to think of a non-technical, like what you call the gameplay loop, right? So when you hit the start song button, 60 frames per second, you want as little calculations as possible for performance, but I was using OpenGL at the time, which is old GPU language, which has been deprecated. And the turning point for me was Mac OS, in particular when Mac switched from OpenGL to Metal. So I don't remember what particular operating system version it was. I think it was around Mac OS version 13, 14, 15, something around there. But basically, there's a time where this software, GuitarSesh, where it was fine on Mac OS, and right when I update the operating system, the OpenGL turned out to be a problem because Mac OS prioritizes Metal, their own in-house GPU language. It's very something I had to learn because it was not unacceptable to have non-smooth note movement. So I went through multiple different things that could cause it. Like, oh, is the reason for the user's non-smooth movement because of recording software? NVIDIA Shadowplay draining resources. Another thing is possibly using the software on a non-primary monitor if you have multiple monitors, and putting the software on the non-primary monitor, which turned out to be a cause and a previous version of the graphical language that I had implemented. But as you can see, over time I went from OpenGL up to Vulkan. So Vulkan, I'm using WGPU. So with WGPU is a language that chooses like the best graphical language for your operating system. So the code doesn't have to be written like per operating system. You just have to write it in one way. And then this WGPU chooses Vulkan on Windows, and then it chooses Mac OS on, it chooses Metal on Mac OS. So it's possible that like these check marks are not necessary. Like I could get smooth 60 FPS without primary display, and I could get smooth 60 FPS with Shadowplay running. But the trick recently has been getting OBS, your streaming video, to display this smooth note movement, because that's something I tried to improve in this current builds the past 2 weeks to a month or so, is getting OBS to be smooth video, because my screen would always be fine. Like I would see the smooth movement of the notes, but when I try to stream it on OBS, it wouldn't be smooth. So that's something I tried to tackle in this build too, that I haven't been able to test just yet because I've been coding so much. But let's continue down to the next in the checklist. So this is the disclaimer also. So when you don't have a particular user setting that says file directory, you get this pop-up folder. You got to define the folder that the guitar tablature files can be found. And so I'm going to hit start setup. It detected that I am on streamer mode, and I didn't want to hit that. That's great. I gotta hit a disclaimer in that part. But you go to desktop, and you confirm. That's my default path. I gotta add a choice for Steam directory. Cool, songs loaded. So what it did is, I already have that directory occupied with songs. So this is like a half configured new user flow where, yeah, it's a new user, but I already have the folder set up. So kind of just loaded everything from there. There's another flow where the user doesn't have that folder set up already, and it goes through another process of giving initial files, of like a template of files to start off with. And this is something I should consider for streamer mode as well, but it's the guitar input device, which I'm not going to show off as a test right now, but I added some features here to detect volume and help debug choosing the device for the input for your guitar. The tutorial, which I'm not going to go over, I'm just going to keep clicking next. You could go over that when you load the software, finish that up. This one's going to keep showing up until I actually take action on it. It's calibration of note hit timing with your guitar to the note to say, yes, you hit the note, no, you didn't hit the note, because there's many variables when it comes to note hit detection, and user hardware is one of those. The delay between when you hit the strum of the guitar and when the program decodes that signal through whatever interface that is being used to communicate with the software. So I tried to allow much user configuration. So I hit maybe later. Okay, so this is the start menu. So what you're seeing here is something called the navigation walkthrough, like a tutorial system. It detects, oh, you've never been on this particular screen. Let me show you steps. Let me show you the purpose of the screen, the functionality, the buttons, where to look, click, why things are designed particularly. So by default, it just says don't show this again, checked. So if you don't have that checked and you go through it, it'll revisit it until you hit don't show this again. But in this case, I'm just going to scroll through it. See, it gives the little highlights of each thing. This one I have to fix. Step 8, it looks like. Step 8, other tooltip, locking the right panels. Let's see if it goes away. Nope. So player profile, something I just modified this flow very recently. Player profile and a daily hub. So let's start there. So before this was just a player profile, but I extended it to be a 2 thing. See, it says level 1 because my database is empty. You go to set list, nothing is there. But so the program, as I said, I already have my folder set up. My folder is like 3 years old at this point. I started it at least May of 2023 of my actual playthrough data. So let me just give a little context of that. If I could find my chicken scratch notes here. Navigation, user design, walkthrough, skippable. Nope. Okay, here we go. So I mentioned that there's a database file, right? And then when you delete the database file, the program still, you start like a new profile, but it loads a user folder from somewhere else with JSON data, which is essentially the first step of getting that data saved. Because the reason why this software is in alpha is because the database, right? I still am modifying the database. And what that means is there's always a need for this backwards compatibility. And up until now, I've been migrating my own data. But if I release this publicly, that'll become a thing of other people's data. Like the database is client-side, local. I don't have access to anyone's database. I have, that's a whole nother story of like the privacy policy that I could get into when we go into the topic of submitting feedback, the community poll. But before I get there, there's quite a lot to go over. I want to get back to the JSON, the data part. So as I said, I deleted the database, but I still have my JSON data in my user folder. So like my play history, all of my stats for my songs that I played with guitar. See, it says level 1, but I'm not actually level 1 because the database is just not synchronized. So in this current build, it's the responsibility of the user to keep that database synchronized. That is to say that the program does update the database as you use it. But what I mean is if the user modifies their data or something, there's just functions to synchronize data. So I've redesigned this database screen to be more friendly, and I updated the tooltips accordingly, but I'm going to skip it for now. I have a developer build which shows synchronization to the server, which the Steam build won't have. The Steam build only has local client-side database updates. So let me just clear, and I'm just going to select only the local updates and synchronize the database. So try to make this screen more friendly. This will just take a couple minutes. It's going to synchronize the database with the JSON data, which is the primary source of the data that the database just relies on. So while this loads, it's just populating, so the note history. So there's other things that I updated that I briefly touched on is the submit feedback and the poll system. And those systems are accessible on the start menu. So submit feedback lets you type in some text and define a category like bug, feedback, feature request, and sends that feedback to my server. And so that way I could get direct feedback. And when you go that route in the program, you get a little disclaimer with a checkbox, yes, no. There's certain aspects that I request to on that server prompt for anti-spam and anti-troll admin policy, which could be opted out of, but it's just the current version that I'll show once this is done loading. But this could take, for me, it depends how much data you have. So this is a song. This is programmer UI, bear with me. But this is just saying, okay, I'm adding these songs to the database, accept. So I added 900 songs, 1,000,000 notes, 2,500 plays. So go back, it says I'm level 83. And if I go to the set list page, this is something, I redesigned the set list, tried to polish it, updated the navigation. So this set list is on the left now. Before it was like set list on top and then track list of set list on bottom. You click the set list, it'll display the tracks. But now it's like side by side set list, well, opposite direction of the camera, but so you have set list this way and then the status and progress. There's one set list per day based on, that's the current logic. You have one session per day, one set list per day in the current build. And they go through the whole process there. I tested a couple days ago dynamic difficulty, which I mentioned as a feature that I added recently. And I made an update on dynamic difficulty and other difficulty settings I'll get into. You see, I just tried to make it look better in the set list. It's nice. This pop-up of the stats for that song if you want to see the set list stats, and then you can see the notes, your stats on how well you did, and then all that stuff and the plays. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty detailed, better than the last version, and you can just go right into the stats from there. So this view is this is something new I added. Well, not the screen is existing, but this is the stats screen. And after this, it displays how well you did. But I added different versions of this stats screen that I'll have to get into. If I go back to the start menu, you can see submit feedback, dev user version, and then you can submit the bug, feedback, feature request, all that stuff. But when you do that, I'll do it as a test. Test. And you hit submit. There's a submit button there. Here's the thing. So when you submit feedback, it sends your Steam ID, your platform, the app version, your feedback. And the reason why I like your Steam ID is because I don't rate limits, duplicate votes and stuff. Pretty sure I have to double check on IP because this doesn't say IP, but I have a server panel basically that I could view the feedback and address it like a ticket system where I can mark resolved. Yeah, I don't reply directly. So my method of communication is as a whole in these 3 tabs: known issues, changelog, and news. So known issues, let's go. This pulls from server. So as I said, the definition of an alpha, known issues, because the database is, and then a known issue in the chord screen, which I'll get into. But you go to changelog, and it says, this is my latest news, or changelog. It just says I got a release candidate, so there's not actually real changelog because it's the first build. But the builds after this, you could get changelog, like, oh, what's different in this build compared to last? You just go straight to this changelog, That's the idea anyway. Pulls from the server. And then a news portion. Now I noticed a bug on here, June 14th, even though I put it today, it's because I had an old news there that I removed, and I put a new one today. But anyways, I just want a generic news. Welcome to the first public build. And so I added something new, is a daily hub. So it's like tracking your play history through the local data. So it says last played 5 days ago, and this is just a rough concept screen version anyway. So your streak, how many days. So I guess I last played Tuesday and today's Sunday. So it just gives you a song to play. I guess it's just like randomly at the moment, or have to reconsider what it calculates there, but gives you little things like your overall stats for year, month, week, day. Just a rough concept. Could work on that one. There's other stuff. So I kind of hinted at it earlier, but if I go to this, oh, here's something new. This is all new, so it's kind of I wanted to polish it. One of my goals is I wanted to get rid of the programmer UI and try to make it more commercial grade across the board. And one of them, of course, was this GuitarSesh gameplay area. You might have noticed something I just stopped. The idle screen will kick in a second. But you see the inlays, the dotted inlays there of the fretboard. Different design, kind of try to make it look cleaner. This is the new idle screen. This may not be fast on the stream or video. It's not exactly optimized for that in the current format. But this idle screen just takes the song's notes. It's smooth on my monitor, where it's like smooth 60 frames, no movement. So let's go over some of the new things here. Other than that, I'll just try hitting start and see how it looks. There's the progress bar here is new. The text is a bit easier to read for the frets. Remember, I have different settings for the frets text and the inlays and all that, but I don't want to go over that. I went over it a little bit last time. There's a lot to go over. I just kind of go over the more recent things. So yeah, the progress bar of the song is nice, cleaner. The text, the time signature, the tempo, the measure number, the song time is a bit cleaner. The song title, or the text, and the frets kind of look a little more polished. Or the notes in the they're not square. They're like rounded edges and they're a bit shinier. So I hit stop. So I updated the stats screen. I skipped through all the tutorial. Oh, I meant to go here. I think I did an extra click. But basically, you go to stats, it goes to here. So this is the stats for this song and this arrangement and this tuning. And it's all the previous plays. I try to have it look nicer looking. So you're some details here and more information at the top. Because I added the different assistant modes, dynamic difficulty, new one, dynamic tempo, compared to the pre-existing behavior of static altered tempo, and another one of no assist. You just want to play the file as it is, and you get to track your playthrough, how many times. So my old one is supposed to be static, but the format, see, this is the topic of backwards compatibility, data changing. My old playthrough history didn't have something called assistant mode. It was just static. It was just that one mode. So I had to introduce all these different modes. So that was something I had to work on a lot recently. Spent a lot of time on, I should say. And on top of that, let me show something else. So that one song, okay, as I'm getting to that other area, here's something. I updated the song selection screen. As I said, I try to get rid of the programmer UI, make it look nicer. Skip the tutorial. I like this background of the sheet music. But this is the tuning folder. I'm going to sort it by most played. So to be E standard, I played. And then I'm going to go to my, actually, I'm going to go to E flat. I'm looking for the song I tested the other day. So I'm going here. But actually, let me go to recent. So this is the recent songs I played. And I have a toggle here. So I try to introduce new behavior. Song highlight, then click play versus click play on song click. So like, I don't know, it's a preference. So this song in particular, E flat, I go to stats and I go to here. So this is new, DD, dynamic difficulty. And so this is a new way of seeing the stats, but after I played this, I realized, oh, I have to add in more data to the stats saving. So this is not populated because this particular play didn't have it. So it's like, oh, the levels of the dynamic difficulty that you went through while playing this, like it details that. So this was just a dynamic difficulty test that so like I said, like I only had static, which is, I call it static altered tempo, which means you alter the tempo through this program where like you have 100% of the notes displayed, but the song speed is kind of varied based on the player's data. Like I could get into that later, but the dynamic difficulty is like, oh, there's 100% of the notes are there, or sorry, the 100% of the notes are not there unless you're on the max difficulty. So my difficulty fluctuated between different levels because this song I can't necessarily play at the 100% speed with all of the notes. So there's just different assistant modes that they're called here. So I need more play data in these other assistant modes. I added different stat view modes. So like dynamic tempo is going to have a new stat view mode compared to this existing stat view mode for the static altered tempo, because look at static altered tempo displays is like has 100% of the notes, but the speed of the song, like you could hit 100% of the notes, but if the tempo is not that good, you're not gonna get the greatest. Like, see, I hit 90%, which should be like a B plus towards A minus, but because of the tempo of the song in this assistant mode, my grade was a B minus because it said, you need to play this faster. So I think I explained that pretty good. So when you go to settings, I showed this last time, skip assistant mode, static altered tempo, you click it to change between them. But since I'm in static altered tempo, this button here is displayed, says tempo, and I reorganize the screen, the navigation's in sync. But I really wanted to make this screen better, so the way you could alter the tempo and see what's in the measures, so you could do the grouped measures by tempo, or you could do measure by measure basis using snippets of certain measures at a time on this grid bar. That is still a bit hard to read, but it's getting there. And this is fully functional, I mean, so it's way better than the other one. And I think it'll be fun. The thing is still a bit tricky to get the measure. So like this displays one measure at a time. It's a bit long, but it's like more useful if you display one measure at a time, but still it's a bit wonky. But I kind of left it. It's better than the previous version anyway. Another thing, let's see on my list. So I went through stats, I went through set lists, I went through database, GuitarSesh, open song, the tempo, the daily hub, known issues, changelog, news. Oh, I got one final thing at the end and a couple more to go before that. So someone in the Steam forums asked about lefty mode. So I said, yeah, lefty mode's in there. right after I wrote it in, 3 months later, after he asked. But you switch that and the frets change. So if I could give a little demo of that. So just in terms of the gameplay loop, so the fret 0 is on the far right, fret 2 is on the far right, fret 3 instead of being on the left because it's lefty mode. But there's more. If I could go, oh boy. So let me just skip to this part. This part is one of the most exciting things that I have implemented. So let me start off by the intonation before I get into the other areas. I've enhanced this intonation screen to help diagnose instances where the guitar is in tune, but the intonation's not correct. There's a difference. So I wanted to make this fancy, so it looks fancy. You basically get to choose between your manual check of fret note, like intonation, or you go through this step-by-step process of saying, do this one, 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 and it's like, and that's just the starting point. Like these two concepts, I want to get into this setup doctor. Diagnose your guitar's physical setup. Scan one string at 9 spots from open to up to fret 17 to separate tuning, saddle, intonation, neck relief, nut height with ranked plain language adjustments. So let me just click it. So what Setup Doctor does, it scans one string from open up to fret 17 and splits the pitch error into physical causes: tuning, saddle, intonation, neck relief, and nut height, when plain language fixes at the end. So you pick a string. I did this the other day. I got a brand new guitar. New guitar day, opened it. It was set to E standard. I took it to the Setup Doctor. I went to the 6th string and it said, adjust the saddle. And I said, okay. So I adjust the saddle just a little bit. And then go back to the tuner, adjust the tuning. Eventually, it intonated frets 0, 1, 2, 7, 9, 12. But fret 17 was a little off, but it went from all those other frets out of intonated adjustment and it intonated it. So choose a guitar type, EIS, scan. I'm not going to go through it now, but it goes through one at a time. So fret 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. And it gets fancy. It opens up diagnosis. It has diagrams of adjust the saddle this way, adjust the saddle that way. And there's like a tuner. It's like, okay, you adjusted the saddle, now retune it. So I'm very excited about this. My guitar had only the 6th string not properly intonated. Every other string was intonated. This does support the truss rod adjustment, which I haven't had a chance to get a guitar that has fret buzz to actually test thoroughly. So early access, the concept is there, the code is there. I believe it's functional. So I'm leaving it there. Needs more use. And now on top of that, this is another thing that sets apart this project from anything out there, provided it works. Session tuning. What is this? Well, as you play, it's going to track how off the pitch detection is to what it thinks it should be. And it's going to log that locally throughout your session. So a session is 1 day's worth of play data. And it's going to say, you know, I think you're out of tune, or, you know, I think you're not properly intonated. And you go here. So it's going to have different categories. It's going to have open string, so your basic tuning. And it's going to have intonation, which is your fretted positions. And look at this fanciness. Like, it's in a sway, like, oh, if you're sharp, boop, it's going to go, you know, it's going to show you like a pretty cool graph. I should have this navigation demoing that. Finish. But you have a setting to start fresh. Let's say like, oh, you know, I've been playing all day, but I'm going to grab a new guitar. So I'm going to start fresh because I don't want this to say I'm out of tune when I really switch guitars. And this is like a preference. If you go to settings, advanced, I lose track of where it's at. Say, I know it's here, but it's, right here, playback. So show session tuning check after songs. So that's to say, like, you know, you hit the song, great job, but it's gonna pop up after your song if you let it, and it's gonna say, I think you might be out of tune, you know. So that's if you want it there. It's more of like hey, tune every time you play. It's more like you could play, but you know, do you really want to? Like in their current setup, you know, don't you want to sound better, you know? So kind of wants to make that less intimidating. And there's some other stuff I added to the tuner. I keep redesigning the tuner. I just have different views. I'm trying to make different concepts of making it appealing. Dark blue is not the greatest, but there's some, like, I tried adding mini games like racing and gardening, so you grow these flowers when you're in tune. But I'm not going to demo that. I don't have guitar in hand right now. Okay, so if you thought that was big, I'm going to keep going through the changes here. There's more. Trying to get through this. Go to chord frequencies. Okay, so I wanted to polish the screen. It was programmer UI. I wanted to make it commercial grade. I'm not going to go through the navigation, but you know, I think it looks better. Maybe, but the important thing is the functionality. I have to make sure this works. The text might be a little hard to read, but I have to test this. And then you go to the redefine, so you could redefine the frequencies for the one you have selected. So let me go back, settings, appearance. It says left-handed mode, guitar input, chord frequencies. And yeah, okay, that is left-handed mode. It shows frets 2 on the right, but if you go to redefined, I gotta fix that left-handed mode. Chord editor, it's displaying the right-handed. So that's a bug. So this is supposed to display as left-handed. There's a lot of areas for the fretboard you gotta use for that variable, so I'll fix that. There's fret vars, variations of that shape along different frets. So this screen was functional before. It's just I wanted to have a better UI, like make it look nicer. So it lets you add chords, lets you define the frequencies when you play the guitar and modify them. And because you know, different tunings, you could add your own tuning support. You just have to define it. Or if my tuning is not correct, you could correct it and say, here's the correct one. Things like that. So let me go back to the other things I want to show off. Is, okay, leaderboard. I tried to improve the UI of leaderboard. Can't tell if it's better. It might be a little bit. There's still some visibility things to consider as small text. But Now the functionality is there. You could change between the players in your database if you have multiple different profiles to compare locally. Change the tunings and the rankings, the time span of a year, month, week, session. I need a clear filter button. If I don't, let me write that down. Leaderboard needs clear button or filters. All right, so standard, default standard. Okay, so yeah, so I hit to jump to my rank for this song. Currently rank 64 because the best playthrough I had is 93.5% on standard, on alt lead. But if I go to lead on this song, my best playthrough is 100%. But it's ranked 30 because there's other songs. I think it's through the score. So 18. Oh, something is off about this one. 186. That was, yeah, 2023. That's more of a playtesting data. But anyways, let me go back. So that's the chord, the text screen, and then leaderboard. Then went over the setup doctor, the session tuning. Okay, now for the maybe the main thing that I wanted to get a more commercial feel, which is the career mode. So here we go. So the walkthrough, I'm just going to skip the walkthroughs. I kind of wanted to improve the way it looks. So the map, I think the map looks better. It has like this day-night cycle. But also, I don't know if you notice, there is less countries on the map, and the progress bar has less countries, and in progress venues is kind of redesigned. I mean, yeah, it is redesigned, trying to be fancier, but now we have a new phase. So yeah, this is the world map, and now we have regions. So now I don't see United Kingdom or Italy. I just see Europe. I don't see United States, Mexico, Canada. I just see North America. So let's, now they're in regions now. So the world map shows regions rather than countries. So now I click a region. Now this is a new view that I added in between the world map and the country map as a region map. So the region, now you track the region stats, the region in progress. Then you go to the country map, which looks far better. And then I just like the way this looks now. Like the region, so what the problem was when I displayed all the countries on the world, you had overlaps, so you can't see all the text correctly. So this was like the only logical solution, and it's pretty cool to zoom in. So you just zoom in really quick, and it's really cool. I mean, for me, it doesn't get old anyway, but I still don't like all the staticness. I'm trying to add all this dynamic. Okay, guess that's it. Yeah, you get now this region tracker too, and you click the bottom here. All right. So last bit of news is trying to get this to go through the Valve review process for Steam Early Access public release. So whenever that gets approved, there's a handful of things I want to test here. Just like mainly just a gameplay loop. Just make sure it's good. Because I've been doing more testing like without the guitar in hand, just because there's been so much programming. So I got to do a little bit more testing just to be sure. But that could be as soon as next weekend, but I don't want to date anything here. But okay, I went through everything and I just leave it at that. See you on the next devlog.